What's going on, guys? Welcome back to episode 14 of Film Time with Fava, brought to you by the Fired Up Network. I hope you at home are ready to get into this episode, because I sure know I am. Now, I have been on a bit of a hiatus. I took last week off from filming just to get settled in here. I'm in London, back at school at Western University, having a good time. But now we are back with Film Time with Fava. As you may see, got a new backdrop here, got some movie posters. We got Indiana Jones and the Temple of Doom. If you remember, that was in I think it was an honorable mention in my top 10 favorite movies of all time. We got my number 2 movie from that list, Eternal Sunshine of the Spotless Mind, right there. And I believe it was number 4 or 5 on that list, Rocky, right there. And then you can't see it's off camera, but I got a Planet of the Apes one over my dresser over there. So yeah, this is going to be the new setup for the foreseeable future while I am here at school completing my 4th year. But yeah, let's get into this episode. So like it has been with a lot of episodes lately, this episode is going to mainly be about Marvel movies, more specifically the newest Marvel movie that has been released, Shang-Chi, or should I say Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, which I went to see on, I believe it was Tuesday. Yes, Tuesday. Saw that movie on Tuesday. Saw in theaters, as one does these days, now that COVID's somewhat more relaxed for now. But yeah, I'm just going to give you my review of that movie and then talk about some other Marvel tidbits and things that have been released. And yeah, let's get right into it. So, Shang-Chi, and the Legend of the Ten Rings stars Simu Liu as the title character, Shang-Chi. Other notable castings include Awkwafina as his best friend, Katie, Tony Leung as the Mandarin, or aka Shang-Chi's father, and Fala Chen as Shang-Chi's sister, and Shang-Chi's aunt is played by Jiang Nan. And another cool casting that really hits home for me was Florian Montagneux, who plays Victor Drago in Creed 2. He's back as Razor Fist. He's a sick guy with a knife for a hand. And returning characters in the MCU, we got obviously Wong, portrayed by Benedict Wong. He was a welcome addition to this movie for sure. And also a surprise one that not many people knew was in this movie is Ben Kingsley as Trevor, who is the actor who fakes being the Mandarin essentially in Iron Man 3. So that was a cool addition to this movie, definitely seeing Ben Kingsley return as Trevor. And I'll get more into his performance as we go on. So I guess with that, I'll just start off with some of the performances in this movie. Starting with the title character of Shang-Chi, played by Simu Liu, famous for Kim's Convenience, among other things, also from my hometown of Mississauga, also went to Western. I'm basically him. So he gave a great performance in this movie. I really loved what he did with the character. I don't know if it was specifically him that did most of his own martial arts and stunts, or if it was a lot of stunt people, but that was one of the best parts of his character, especially in the bus scene near the very beginning. I think they're in New York, I want to say, but he does some amazing martial arts in that. You see him do this split kick to these 2 guys on the bus. That was amazing. Yeah, he just really sold me that he was just this guy that was trying to get rid of his past, trying to move on. But as you know, you can never run from your past. And that is shown greatly through his character. And going along with his character is his kind of sidekick, Katie, played by Awkwafina. Now, I'm going to be honest, I don't usually like Awkwafina. My mom especially actually doesn't like Awkwafina because she said she kind of talks like Miley Cyrus. I mean, don't quote me on that, but that's what my mom thinks. But yeah, I haven't really seen a lot of stuff with Awkwafina in it, but like what I have seen on SNL and whatnot, I've been kind of like, she's all right. Like she's an okay actress, I guess. She's kind of funny. But I honestly really liked her in this role as Shang-Chi's best friend sort of character who accompanies him on this kind of just the ordinary person in all this. Kind of like who's the character I'm thinking of here? It's like in Black Panther when Martin Freeman, I believe the actor's name is, who plays Everett Ross, goes to Wakanda and is just like this regular dude just put into this crazy technological world. It's kind of like that with this character. She just been sheltered her whole life, kind of just everyday person, and then just gets put into this crazy world of the Mandarin and Shang-Chi and the Ten Rings and all this. And I felt like she was that really cool fish out of water character in this movie. And speaking of the Mandarin and all that crazy stuff, Tony Leung uh, plays the Mandarin, who is a character who's been like rumored throughout the MCU since its inception. You know, we've always heard about the Ten Rings as early as Iron Man. We thought we saw the Mandarin in Iron Man 3, but it turned out that was just a bogus Mandarin. But this time we get to see the real Mandarin and his origin story. And I really liked the father in this. Because basically Shang-Chi's father is supposed to have been alive for thousands of years, I think tens of thousands of years, even possibly. And he really portrayed this man who's kind of been through all that. Like he's really run out of things to want in the world. And then when he finds Shang-Chi's mother, he thinks he's found love for the first time. And then when she's taken away, he kind of goes back to his roots of just like terrorizing things and all that. You know, he starts the Ten Ring. Well, he doesn't start the Ten Rings, but he kind of revamps the Ten Rings, raises Shang-Chi to basically be this murderer. Yeah, not really the kind of father you want, to be honest. But yeah, no, he did a good job with that character. One of the characters who did not do a good job, though, I felt was Fala Chen, who plays. Oh wait, no, that's the wrong name. Her name is Leica Wu. That's who it is. Oh wait, no, it's Fala Chen. Okay, yeah, Fala Chen, who plays Shang-Chi's sister. I don't know, she was just kind of all right. She was just kind of there, like nothing really special about her character. Now that could have just been the writing of her character, but I don't know. Her performance just landed kind of flat for me. Not a lot of expression from her. We didn't really feel a ton of connection with her and Shang-Chi throughout the movie. And I mean, that could be because they were estranged growing up, as Shang-Chi did run away from home. But yeah, just nothing super special with that. Um, Moving on to Florian Montagneux, who plays Razor Fist. Yeah, he was just like the enforcer, kind of. Nothing super special about his character. It was just nice to see Victor Drago in the MCU, basically. And then to round off the performances, I want to just talk about Ben Kingsley as Trevor the actor. I think this is his best performance in the MCU. I mean, we've only seen him in two things, three if you count the Marvel one shot where he's in prison. But yeah, I think this is his best MCU performance yet. Trevor the actor was always funny in Iron Man 3. Just the whole thought that it was just this drunk British actor playing this like warlord basically was always kind of funny. And then seeing him return in this, just imprisoned by the actual Ten Rings and making friends with like these fantastic beasts. That's like a Harry Potter thing, I guess. Oh, and then he had one of the greatest MCU jokes of all time. So it actually really hit home to me because it was about Planet of the Apes. He said the moment he wanted to become an actor was when he was watching Planet of the Apes and he saw these actual monkeys like acting. He's like, oh, but these monkeys weren't doing. What does he even say? He's like, oh, but these monkeys weren't like talking or shooting the guns. They were acting like they were. And then someone in the back is like, and then he basically, they weren't riding horses. They were acting like they were. And he basically says that's why he wanted to become an actor. So that was pretty ridiculous, but super funny. One of my favorite MCU jokes I've ever seen. Moving on from the performances themselves, we the setting of this movie does a really good job of changing it up as we start off. Well, technically, we start off in old time China when we see the Mandarin taking down dynasties, basically. But then we quickly shift to modern day New York, where Shang-Chi is just living his life. He's living in America now after he ran away. He's a what's it called, a valet driver with Aquafina. And then following that, we quickly shift right back to the Ten Rings compound. And yeah, and then obviously after that, we then shift to this is one part that confused me. The place they go to after they escape the compound with Trevor in this movie. They said it was another universe, but they basically just went through like this moving forest to get there. So that really confused me. But it's basically this cool fantasy kind of land with all these crazy creatures like giant lions and like dragons and stuff like that. So that was a really cool place to see. They did a really good job with the CGI there of showing all these crazy creatures in a way that wasn't like campy or anything. But yeah, no, the setting did a good job of changing it up, showing us things that we'd never really seen before in the MCU. But the setting was also confusing in the sense that they said it was in another universe, but they never really explained how it was in another universe. Anyways, I'll forget about that. Um, so yeah, those two aspects I've talked about, the performances and the setting, were good for the most part. The cinematography of this movie, pretty standard MCU stuff. There was nothing absolutely crazy. There was no shots where I was like, oh my god, that was the most insane thing I've ever seen. But yeah, honestly, parts of this movie just really fell flat for me. Like the relationship with Shang-Chi and his sister, like she was just kind of there and she was kind of like a dick to Shang-Chi for no reason at times. Like I get he ran away, but he also ran away from a warlord father who wanted him to murder people. So I feel like she wasn't very understanding of that. And then at the end, that character just takes over the 10 rings. Like, has she learned nothing? Uh, Apparently not. Also, Shang-Chi's aunt, for some reason, her and Shang-Chi do this like martial arts dance thing that apparently Shang-Chi's mother used to do. And that it was a cool scene seeing them do this. Like the choreography was awesome, but then they just kept giving each other these looks, like not the oh wow we're doing such a good job look, like the oh yeah, you know you know what I mean. And it was just really awkward because it was his aunt and him, and I honestly I feel like the whole theater felt a little uncomfortable. I know the guys I was seeing it with were a little uncomfortable when we saw Shang-Chi and his aunt possibly getting it on during that dance, but I digress. Yeah, but where this movie truly fell flat, though, I know I already said it fell flat, but I feel like it truly fell flat when they reached that fantasy land because we see many things that just don't really work for me. We see Aquafina learn how to shoot arrows like Hawkeye in like a day. She had no prior archery training, and yet she basically causes the chain reaction that leads to Shang-Chi killing the main beast at the end of the movie because she fires the arrow at its neck, just gets an amazing shot off, apparently, like Hawkeye style, as I said. So that was one thing that made no sense. Then the other thing that made no sense was the creatures that are attacking the people of that village are these like soul sucking creatures, and they come out when the Mandarin and his goons show up to the village to try and find his wife, who he thinks is still alive, but it's really just the creature behind this big wall in the village that's like telepathically talking to him, I guess. It was all very confusing for a origin story movie to have all this stuff just thrown at us at one time, especially since the MCU right now is heavily focusing on the multiverse. This kind of felt like, oh, so now we have the multiverse to think of, but then we also have all this like fantasy world, like other universes within the Earth. It seems like a lot to be thrown at us in just the origin story of Shang-Chi. And I feel like they didn't sacrifice on Shang-Chi's origin story, but they did sacrifice on explaining us what exactly the hell is going on, essentially. But as I was saying about the creatures they're fighting, yeah, there's these soul sucking creatures which basically suck the soul right out of these people to feed it to the giant monster. But we never really know why it's doing that. Like we never really get exactly what's going on with that. And then when the giant creature comes out, and then Shang-Chi finds a dragon at the bottom of the ocean, apparently it's his family's dragon. Don't get me wrong, looked super cool. Both those creatures had like top-notch CGI, but why were they there? This is stuff we need to know, especially with the giant soul-sucking creature. The final fight, though, was very cool, especially the climax when Shang-Chi has the 10 rings after his father's death. And he takes out the big monster with this like Kamehameha looking thing. It was they actually referenced that at the end. That was one of the things in this movie that I really liked was that they referenced Dragon Ball Z. So Dragon Ball Z is now canon to the MCU, which also removes the chances that Goku is going to show up in the next Avengers movie. Sadly, because that was obviously going to happen. Yeah, though, but Shang-Chi takes out that monster like a boss. One of the highlights of the movie right there. And I'm trying to think of other aspects of this movie that were good or bad. The costume design, I will give it to the movie. They did a very good job of that. Shang-Chi's outfit was super cool. Besides the fact that it kind of just seemed like he was wearing regular pants. Like he had this super cool top, like made of dragon scales and stuff like that. And then the bottoms were just pants. Like, okay, what happens if he gets hit below the belt? Is he just dead? Anywho, I digress yet again. Post-credit scenes in this movie. The first one was really cool, where it basically shows Shang-Chi in the sanctum, the sanctum sanctorum. That's what I believe it's called, where Doctor Strange and Wong live. And basically, Wong's giving him this talk. He's analyzing the 10 rings, and he says basically that they are a beacon to something, but he doesn't know what they're a beacon to. And he says like their origins aren't from Earth and all this, and that they date back like super far, even like far past when Shang-Chi's father, the Mandarin, first attained them. And then we see Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner as well in hologram form, looking at them. Bruce Banner, though, is not in Professor Hulk form anymore. He's just back to being Bruce Banner, which is interesting and maybe something that will be answered in the She-Hulk series, which I know Bruce Banner, aka Mark Ruffalo, will be appearing in. Yeah, and then Captain Marvel makes some joke that if they need to talk to her, you can get my number from Bruce Banner. But then Bruce Banner says, "Yeah, I don't actually have her number." So yeah, that joke happened. It wasn't very funny. You know, that was a cool post credit scene though. Besides that bad joke, because it just kind of sets up some stuff maybe where maybe some aliens want to get the 10 rings back. What is it a beacon to? Could we see what it's a beacon to? Maybe in the Eternals. Maybe it's a beacon to the Celestials. We don't know. Maybe it's a beacon to some multiverse. We don't know. But no, it was cool. It set up a lot of like what ifs from that. And the second post credit scene was still kind of okay, but not as cool because it involved Shang-Chi's sister, who was a character I didn't really care for. And it just shows that she's taken over the 10 rings and kind of made her own. Like they got some graffiti around the compound. They now allow women to be like warriors with the 10 rings. It's just stuff like that. It was fine. Yeah. So I guess in terms of Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings for a rating, I'm going to switch it up to a rating out of 10 this week because I realize now that doing ratings out of 5 is a little hard, and like a 3 could really mean so many things. Like a 3 could mean an okay movie, or it can mean like a decent movie that I just didn't think was deserving of any higher. So I'm going to switch it to a out of 10 scale. And for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings, I was really looking forward to this movie. I was really hyped about it. The trailers made it seem really cool, but it did kind of fall flat. It was still good. So I'm gonna give it a 6.5 out of 10. That's what I'm gonna give Shang-Chi and Legend of the Ten Rings, 6.5 out of 10. I would say go out and see it. I'm not where it ranks in the MCU for me. It's definitely in the bottom half of the MCU. The visuals were crazy. Like I feel like this is the closest I'm going to get to seeing a live action Dragon Ball Z movie. Obviously, besides the monstrosity that was Dragon Ball Evolution, hopefully never again. But yeah, it just didn't do enough for me. I think a 6.5 is fair for Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. As I said, if you're a Marvel fan, you got to see it. It's in the MCU. If you're not a Marvel fan, give it a watch. I know my sister and her boyfriend really like this movie. They're not as into the MCU as I am, though. So I don't know. Maybe people who haven't seen all the other Marvel movies would like it. I don't know. Let me know in the comments about that, what you thought about the movie. I do have high hopes though for Shang-Chi's character himself, like in the MCU, whether that's in sequels or just his next appearances in movies. I'm guessing he'll be in the next Avengers movie, considering he has these relics that are given off some beacon to outer space or wherever. I'm guessing those are going to play a big part in the upcoming phase of Marvel. So we'll see about that. But I guess just in terms of other Marvel stuff, a new What If episode came out this week. It was What If Zombies. That was a very cool episode. I think it's either tied for second or it's in third. I still like the Doctor Strange, Evil Doctor Strange episode the best. I think second is either the T'Challa Star Lord one or this latest zombies one. It was really cool. And Spider-Man had a big role in it. And Spider-Man name dropped Uncle Ben for the first time ever in the MCU, even though it's in a alternate universe. I still accept it. But yeah, it's just cool to hear the name Uncle Ben name dropped in the MCU, because up to this point we'd only heard him just kind of say that Aunt May's been through enough already, but now we know that Uncle Ben does exist in the MCU. So that was a cool reveal. Yeah, but I give the episode of What If an 8.5 out of 10. That was a good episode. So I guess on that note, guys, you can follow me on social media on Instagram at Film Time with Fava, or on my personal account at Favalicious, and on Twitter at A_Fav24. On all those accounts, excluding my personal one, I'll just be posting some fun clips and updates on the show. So stay tuned for that, guys. It's been episode 14. I'll be back from London with episode 15 next week. I'm going to be doing a fans top 10. Actually, we had a fan of the show send a note to my boss asking for me to rate his top 10 movies. So I'm going to be watching all those again this week and then ranking them and presenting them to you. Most of them are sports movies, actually. So if you're a fan of sports movies, you're not going to want to miss this episode. There's actually a few on there I haven't seen. So I'm looking forward to going back and watching them. It's been a while since I've watched a good sports movie, because I watched Space Jam 2, and that was not a good sports movie. So anyways, guys, I'm Anthony Fava, and as always, this is as real as it gets. I'm going to see you guys next week.